Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my stick. And we'll see where we left off last time. This is what we were talking about last time, just going through and playing with how the stick moves, understanding how we can take these pieces and get them to appear to move realistically, understanding a bit of the physics, understanding how things are going to move, and all that stuff. Okay. Now what we want to do is be able to create an actual little animation. So I'm going to reopen the original stick rig file. If you've lost it, you can just re-download it, whatever. I'm going to hide this background. And what we want to do is we want to create a more appealing animation than just the stick going side to side, okay? So it's definitely possible for us to do that with this, create a nice little animation. But we may want to rotate the stick around. We may want to give it a different character. We may want to move it and do whatever, okay? So in this case, we want to just unlock some of the features on this item, okay? I don't want to be able to move it forward and back. I want to keep that locked in. I don't want to be able to scale this up and down, but I do want to unlock my ability to move it up and down and my ability to rotate it in at least this one direction right here, okay? Shouldn't need to rotate it in that direction. That really wouldn't work, right? So under Window, under General Editors, under Channel Control, right there, Window, General Editors, Channel Control. This is all the different channels that are available for you to edit this item. So if we're going through and we're saying, okay, the translates are hidden, or they're not keyable and they're locked. So I need to go into the non-keyable hidden area and find translates. So no surprise there, they're under the T's for translate. We just need the translate Y. So if I want to make this keyable, I'll move it to the keyable section. There it is. So now translate Y shows up in this list. I'm going to go to rotate. And I don't know which rotate it is. I mean, I do know, but let's pretend that I don't. I'm going to move all three rotates into the mix. Okay? So now all the rotates are there, and then my translate X and translate Y. Now you'll notice that I still can't rotate them, right? So not only are they hidden, but they're also locked so that we can't rotate or move or whatever. So two ways we can do this. One, highlight all of these, right click, move your recording software out of the way. Go to unlock selected, which is right here. Or we can go into the locked area and then just unlock the stuff. So if I just went rotates, unlocked, translates, Y unlocked, now all of those are unlocked. Okay, so now I can move it up and down. Now I can move it forward and back. And now I can rotate it. Now we should only need to rotate this one direction. Okay, which is just in this blue direction, which is the rotate Z. Right? So I don't want to accidentally rotate it this way because there's not really a way for these little pivots to rotate that way. This is not a ball hinge, it's just a regular hinge. A regular hinge only goes sideways, it doesn't go the other way. And I don't want to rotate it this way because, again, I don't have an operation for that thing to be able to spin around, right? So I'm going to lock rotate X and rotate Y. So if I highlight both of these, I can right click and I can say lock selected, there we go, and then right click and say hide selected, and now they're gone. Okay, so now we've just unlocked our ability to then go through and move this in this direction. Can't move it in that direction, which is fine. Move it up and down, and we can also rotate this like that. And using our J hotkey, we can obviously snap it so that it locks perfectly. What? There we go. Okay, so now this platform is no longer being held up by the top. Now it's being supported on the bottom, right? So the dynamics and the physics of this are now going to be completely different. Because it's upside down, the head part of it is most likely going to weigh it down, right? Or maybe the head part is the driving part now. Because like a person's head, this could be what's controlling it, and this is just like a platform holding it down. So you can consider either one of those scenarios, okay? So let's say, for instance, we are going to animate this thing moving around. So I have some like crazy numbers here. Let me just reset these back to 0. And then push this back down to the ground. That's good. All right, so let's set some keyframes here. So if the head is what's driving it, the head's going to be in control. So what's going to be the last piece to move? If that's the head, what's the last piece to move? Yep, down here, right? Because that changes our dynamics. That changes how he moves. So let's say that this is it's a sad little stick. So we're going to go here, and our first frame, he's going to start off kind of, he's a little bit depressed. Maya crashed on him again. And he didn't save, of course. Why would he save? All right, there we go. All right, so I'm going to hit S to set a key. Oops. I'm going to click on this, and then hit S to set a key. So that's my first frame. That's how his animation is starting off. How far up do we go? I don't know. We'll find out. So I'm going to go, let's say, 20 frames. Actually, I'm going to go up to, let's say, 3 frames first and then go up to 20 frames. Because I want to have a little bit of a hold at the beginning where he's still like hanging down. I don't want him just to like jump up right away or anything. So at 20 frames, he's going to get a little bit of hope. Maybe Maya's coming back up and maybe his file did save. Like that. Not too much. We don't give him too much hope. That's like too much. Get down. There we go. All right, so let's grab those again and set a key. Okay, now I did that little set key thing. So I did my set key option box. I said all keyable from channel box. And so now whenever I hit S, it just sets the 1. And I think maybe even that. Yeah, I think that might be good there. There we go. Dang it. I have to click on it, then hit S. There we go. All right, so now he's going to be, right? So he's kind of like looking up, hey, what's going on? And now he's getting a little more hope, so let's go make him a little bigger. Pull him up some. Grab everything again, set a key. The crooked back doesn't work. This is why it's important to be comfortable with setting keys and moving things around so that you can always go back and just tweak stuff. There we go. All right, so we'll pretend that Maya works and he's super happy. So he's going to do a little jump in the air. So in order for him to jump, he has to have momentum built up in order for the jump to happen. So that means that everything's going to kind of get compressed. So this is going to go this way. This is going to go that way. This is going to go this way. That's going to go that way. And his head, because he's looking up, that will go straight. All right, I need a little bit of a hold there for us to actually register that he's excited. So I'm going to go to this frame, and I want to hold this frame. So I want to hold that pose longer. So if I go to it and then I middle click further up, that doesn't change my time. If I left click and drag, it does. I don't want that. He's dancing. I'm going to middle click and drag and then hit S again. So now we'll get a little hold. So he comes up, he holds, and now he's about to launch into the air. Comes up, holds, and then gets ready to launch. So now that he's going to launch, I'm going to go to, let's say, 60, and just reset all these back to 0. Oops. Set a key on that. There we go. All right, again, probably another hold, maybe only like 2 frames this time. There we go. And now that could happen a bit quicker. I really want that to feel like he's jumping. It doesn't feel like he's jumping. Right? So I'm going to go to the graph editor. I can do a couple things. One thing I can do in the graph editor is I can change how these keys are getting from one spot to the other. So just like After Effects, we can play with basically the interpolation from these keyframes to those keyframes to make that happen quicker. So if I grab these and I do my weighted tangents and I do my free tangent weight, I could then grab all of these things and just push that over. And then the same thing, grab this and push that over. And that would give me more of a movement at the end. Yeah, a little bit. No, I want more. So I'm going to have to go to the dope sheet and just take these keyframes and just middle drag them back a couple frames. There we go. That feels like he's jumping now. Boing. All right, so now he needs to obviously jump up. So I'm going to go to right about here. Oops, right before that. And I'm going to grab this thing and set keyframes on all these. Then right there at 62, let's say, I'm going to pull this up. Let's go up really high, like that. And then we'll set a key. There we go. Cool. All right, now I'm going to go to 70, and then we'll pull them back down. Oops, maybe a little bit of hang time at the top. So 63, I'll put another key. Nope. 64, we'll put another key. That's good. There we go. Okay. And then I will take some of these and just start adding some little bits of animation as he's coming up. So he goes up like this. And I think what I want to have him do at the top here is maybe start to curl over a little bit. Oh, that's too much curl. That should be good. All right. It's good to have a little bit of animation in every piece. That way it feels more alive than if it's just like a static-y kind of piece. Like that. Maybe his head should be up more. All right, so let's see what that looks like. There we go. All right, and then when he comes down to land, we have to have some sort of impact. He hits the ground, those things are going to jostle a little bit, just like your legs do. So then we can take this, and I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to go that way. I'm going to go this way. And the reason I'm going the opposite direction is just to have a little bit more impact as far as the movement goes. And his head can do that now because his head is like lurching forward. All right, so let's see what that looks like. There we go. Now what I want to do is I want to hold off on that curling until right before he hits the ground or right as he hits the ground. So I'm going to do it again, another hold on this till about right about here. There we go. So now it feels like he's hitting the ground, boom, and then it's making him do that. And I think in the dope sheet I could probably scoot these frames over just a bit more. Just that. That might be too far, we'll find out. That's all right. I think I'm liking how that's happening. I'm just going to spread those out a little bit further. No, I don't think I like the platform. I think the platform just needs a little bit more hesitation at the top of that. So I'm going to go to my graph editor, And I'm going to turn these into that. Okay, so now we're going to get a little bit of a hang, but he's still going to keep going up a little bit. So it's not going to be just like he comes here and stops, which is what it was doing. He's going to come up to the top and then slowly kind of come up and then slowly come back down again. All right, it's better. I think those 70 still needs to come back some. Oops. That needs to come back some here. This needs to come back some there. All right, so that's good. Nope, not good. There we go. So now he hits the ground and he does that. And then he needs to obviously come some sort of rest to this. So there. So I'm just kind of randomly rotating these just to give this more of that feel of, you know, how it would be moving. All right, too much of a backlash there. Let's spread those apart. All right, and then a little bit more of a hold here. So let's go to this frame, middle click, set a key. And then I think I need to go in the graph editor. Oops, I set keyframes on all these, so I'm going to right click and delete. Those are gone. And then I'm going to take all of this and just make all of these at automatic. That way we'll get some nice curvy lines here. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. And then I can come back and reset all of these back to 0. And then let's say set a key. There we go. Okay, so now let's just pretend that that's good enough for where we're at. So now, just like I did before, if I go to my stuff and I start offsetting them, now I'll get more of that fluid motion from one to the other to the other. Now this is going to be opposite, so the start of this movement should happen here on 5, and the end of the movement will happen on 1. So 5 is going to be first, and then 4, so I'll offset that a frame, then 3, then 2, and then 1. Yep. There's a little bit of tweaking in there, but I think it's right, good enough. All right, and then what I can have him do right at the end, I'm just going to undo that so it goes back to where they were. That's good. Let's say right at the end he comes to kind of this like resting point there. I'm going to have him back up a little bit. So I'm going to say let's set a key here where he's going to start moving. And then let's go to frame 100 and move him forward. Okay, so now he goes across. Now to give him a little bit of anticipation, I'm going to pull him back. So instead of just going right from 82 to 100, I'm going to go to 85 and move him past where he was and give him a little bit of rotate. Right, so now we get this. And actually this rotate here should be forward. There you go. So he goes back like this, and then as he's going forward, by the time he gets to the end of this, he's like that. There we go. And then I can do the dynamics on top of that just to give it, again, the same thing we had before. Now because the bottom is the main driving force, we'd be back to the bottom being controlled and then the dynamics flowing this way, okay? But because he has a head, we could also have, you know, some of this moving forward because that's kind of like maybe he's pushing himself forward. He's propelling himself like on a Segway or a hoverboard or something. there and set a key. All right, so here he comes. All right, he's going to go back like that. And then right about here. There we go. All right, so it gives him a little bit more life, just kind of moving around like that. And then I will not save it as that. I will save it as a new name. Animation. All right. All right, so our assignment is StickAnimation. The due date will be the 5th of February. Yeah, it's on there. Thanks. 2018, right? That's the year, not last year. Project description. Understanding basic mechanical animation. Basic mechanical animation using the stick rig. Our learning objectives are to stay organized, and set keyframes, adjust the speed and spacing using the dope sheet and graph editor, and the main thing, we're animating the stick wagging at least 2 times. Okay, and for that stick to wag at least 2 times, obviously he has to come into the frame, he has to move somehow, and then go out. Going beyond, that's where you're adding those extra things where you're telling more of the story about the stick, how he's feeling, how he's moving, all that kind of stuff. That should be it for that. Obviously using appropriate materials, lights, and cameras. And just like I mentioned on the Game of Thrones one, I'm not going to go through the materials and lights again. It's the same thing as the previous one, okay? The only difference is going to be that on this one, because everything is locked, you can't grab the geometry. You can unlock the geometry through the layers, but it's probably easiest just to go through, oops, come on, close. There it is. To go through here, and in this, you can grab the geometry, so I can grab the base and assign that Arnold surface shader to it, the standard surface, and then grab the hinges, control click, control click, control click, assign the Arnold surface shader and do whatever. Same thing with the bar. Okay, it's easiest to do that right inside here versus trying to select it out there, okay? With lights, again, just nice lighting in the scene. Don't try to overdo it. Don't try to make it too like cinematic. Cameras, nice smooth motion. If you looked at the, oh, I closed it. The first one I showed with the 2 things kind of like cleaning it or whatever, the camera really never moves. It's just in one shot. In another one, the camera has different cuts. So you're seeing it from this view and then that view and then that view. One camera is not going to be able to cover every single inch of this, so don't try. Try to find a nice camera movement that shows off how this thing is moving, right? So from up here, that doesn't show off how that thing is moving very good. You can't see the things bending and whatever. So you want to be at a good angle where you can see it and be close. That's too far away. This might be too close because now we can't see it. So you want to find a good camera depth to put that thing at. That should be good there. No planning is needed for this one. Project folder is being turned in. And everything will be turned in. You'll be turning in a movie. And this will be a 5 to 7 second animation of the stick. Bless you. Our resolution is 960 by 540 at 30 frames per second. Oh, come on. Oh, and make a note with your lights, cameras, and whatever else, you can put a little parenthesis and say motion blur too, because you want motion blur on that, so don't forget to turn that on. Oops. MHCA 2540, 3D animation. Class name and number is 2540, 3D animation, and I believe this one was worth 3, but let me check. 4? Yep, you are right, 4. The last one was 3. Okay, so points possible will be 4. Okay, so make sure you're naming your stuff. Though any materials you make, you name. Any lights you make, you name. If you add any props, you name them too. Add them to layers if you need to. So if you create an object, I don't know where that went. There it is. You give it a name, block. You add it to a layer by clicking this button with it selected, and then you can double click layer 1 and call it block layer. And then you can obviously turn it off or on if you need to. Okay. Yeah. Everything else should be good. With this one, you are going to have a lot more motion than you did in the previous one. So things like motion blur are going to be a lot more obvious. So if I turn my motion blur on and I shrink that a little bit. So let's say right there. And I add a light to the scene. That always helps. Oops. Oh, I have it templated, so it's not going to render. Nope. There it goes. I had to turn the R off. I don't know why that was. I never had to do that before. All right, so you'll be able to see a lot more motion blur on this one than you did the previous one because there's a lot more motion happening on the item itself. Okay, so just be aware of that too, that in some frames it's going to be like pretty slim. Using brighter colors or more vibrant colors will definitely help this out. If everything is the same kind of color, it's just going to blend in too much and you're not really going to be able to see how that looks. Like you can see how much motion blur is right there on that platform. Also, we want to set that to the end of frame. Camera, I don't like to blend. I don't like to blur that. And then, you may need to do 4 frames here, possibly, depending on your motion. Yeah, I think it looks better with 4 there. If I just go to 2. It just seems a little solid or more solid or. Whoops. Cool. All right, any questions on that? Alrighty.